a major shakeup for the Donald Trump campaign. Trump's convention manager, Paul Manafort, telling RNC members that Trump will change his style and run a more traditional campaign, and that includes raising money for the RNC. The on-the-record political panelists here from the Washington Post, Aaron Blake, and from The Hill, A.B. Stoddard. Aaron, we sort of got a hint of that the other night after the New York win. He was more presidential, but then the next day he said Lion Ted again. So he went from Senator Ted to Lion Ted, but now we hear this.
Look, I think his campaign clearly would like for him to be a different candidate, a more traditional candidate, which was how they're presenting him now and how they said that he would act according to the RNC meeting. The question is whether the candidate can actually pull that off. He's a very proud man. I doubt he takes direction very well. He's shown signs of wanting to tone it down before, and then he reverts right back to the stuff like Lion Ted again. And I think just in his rally a moment ago, he started talking about Lion Ted. So I'm sure they want him to do this. The question is whether he can actually do it, and I'm skeptical.
A.B., I'm not even sure it's a good idea for the simple reason this. I mean, I know the Lion Ted doesn't sound good and all that stuff, but the thing is, he's been so successful doing it his way. And, you know, the minute these candidates start listening to consultants and start, you know, trying to reinvent themselves, I'm not so sure, as rough and tumble as he is, I'm not so sure he should do what Donald Trump thinks.
Well, that's interesting. You know, the motto of the small operation was "Let Trump be Trump," and he forged ahead, and
he's winning.
And he's winning. But the money thing is actually, I think, is shrewd and well-timed, because he's trying to convince the RNC and party stalwarts and the establishment, whoever that is, and elites, that he can be the nominee and he can win and he can beat Hillary Clinton despite his polling against her, which is totally abysmal. And so the way to do that, New York Times just broke a story this afternoon that the RNC is really struggling for money. People aren't donating the presidential campaign. They're donating only for Senate races. They're not interested in Cruz or Trump, and they're very worried about how it's going. So they want to save the Senate and the House seats. For Trump to say, I'm going to help the party and raise some money for them, is a good way to convince the delegates who are unbound that he needs to sway if he doesn't come up with the final number. And just the party sort of foundation itself, the leaders of the party, that he actually is up to being the nominee and he's going to win a general election. It's going to take a lot of persuasion.
Look, letting Trump be Trump was great for getting him to this point. It may get him over 1,237 delegates and win the nomination before the convention. This is a backup plan right now. This is them recognizing that they may come up short. They may need to win over some delegates who are not bound to them at the convention. And in order to do that, they need to convince these delegates that he is going to help the party raise money and be a real party, that he's going to be an electable general election candidate who is capable of toning it down. So he's not so much kind of changing his spots as doing, you know, putting aside a backup plan.
Right. For fundraising, for down tickets.
It's come very late in the game is the problem. He's doing this at the last minute when he has to. So I think there's going to be some skepticism about whether this is a genuine thing or whether it's just going to be a 2-month thing, and then in the general election he goes back to being Donald again.
You got 30 seconds to get the cleanup on this.
No, I think it is really important. The money thing, people don't understand. Hillary's going to raise a lot of money. It's going to be costly to run against her. If it's Donald Trump who's self-funded, the party's really worried that a lot of people don't want to give money to him. So the way to get people to give money is for him to raise money, and he has to get going.
Well, it's certainly not going to be dull. I say that every single night, and it hasn't been. Aaron, A.B., thank you both.